Breaking news tonight. We've got real news. This just in.
Real news from the Blaze.
Welcome to Real News, everybody. The Democratic National Convention continues to roll along in Charlotte, North Carolina on day 2 after the First Lady, Michelle Obama, gave a speech that was widely praised on both sides of the aisle. But we are moving forward with S.E. Cupp, and you're going to tell us what is the Democratic Party doing?
Oh, well, there's a lot going on. Buck will fill us in a little bit later on what just happened, literally just happened within the past hour on the floor. But I want to show everyone a clip from the video that opened the convention yesterday. And it was around 5 o'clock, so most people probably didn't see it because most of the networks don't cover these things until later. But it's really instructive. The video is basically just an introduction. Welcome to Charlotte. Let's kick off the party. But there's a part in there that I think really sets the tone in a very chilling way. Let's play that.
We are committed to all people. We do believe you can use government in a good way. Government's the only thing that we all belong to. We're in different churches, different clubs, but we're together as a part of our city or our county or our state.
The government is the only thing that we all belong to. Now let's pretend for a minute that the point they were trying to make is that the government's kind of like a club and we're all members. I think that's patently dishonest and also a very cheery reading of this statement. The idea that because we all live in cities or because we all have state pride or like the Yankees, that somehow that is the same as belonging to government, I think most people should find really offensive. But this statement notwithstanding, the themes that this new Democratic Party, since Barack Obama has come into office, only reinforce the idea that this party and this president truly in their heart of hearts believe that we are property of the government, that we truly do belong to the government. So I'm going to take this quote at its worst possible meaning because I believe that there is plenty of evidence over the past 4 years to prove that that is actually how they mean it. Let's head over to the blackboard and I'll show you exactly what I mean. I've identified what I think are 4 themes that, again, the new Democrats under Barack Obama have propagated over the course of his administration and his first term. And now you see them on full display, both in the DNC platform, and you heard them throughout the night last night. 1, the government owns your money and will let you keep as much as they deem fit. Of course, we see this with the, pay your fair share and the redistribution of wealth, and the wealthiest should be paying to subsidize the middle class. That's in almost every economic policy that this administration has pushed. 2, the government owns your success and will take full credit for it. You heard this last night from Michelle Obama, repeating the "you didn't build it" message that her husband tried to deliver in Roanoke. She actually did a much better job. She was far more eloquent and had a softer touch on what was a fairly caustic message from him in Roanoke. But that's the message. Your success is not your own. It's shared and will be distributed. 3, the government owns your body and will decide how you take care of it. Of course, we see this with Obamacare. And the idea that women in particular need the government to protect their reproductive health, provide them with contraception, provide them with abortions. This idea is that your body is no longer your own, and your decisions over how you take care of it and what you do with it belong either in the hands of the government or, in some cases, the IRS. And finally, number 4, the government owns your rights. God and nature have nothing to do with it. We saw a huge outcry from the left when Paul Ryan said something that used to be fairly innocuous, that rights come from nature or God. Not so in this administration. The government is in charge of doling out your rights. Most people on the left found Paul Ryan's insistence to be very offensive. So when you put all of this together, your property, your success, which is essentially your future, your body, and your rights, together, I mean, these are the puzzle pieces that create a whole person, a sovereign person. And when you lose sovereignty to all of these, then I'm not sure where this leaves you in terms of your own manifest destiny. So to get out of the weeds and back into reality, sorry for that theology lesson, but I think I'm not an alarmist. I've been reliably realistic and pragmatic in my short career as a pundit. This has, I think, huge implications, and I'm really reluctant to read too much into stuff. But this, I think, is clearly the themes of this Democratic National Convention, this party, this administration, and they are overtly embracing this kind of language now.
Well, hold on. Let's just, that's a hell of an argument that he just put together. I mean, 2 + 2 + 2 = 8, but not in this
2 + 2
situation.
+ 2 does not
I
equal
meant to
8.
throw one more 2 because you have 4 there. You got 4.
Okay.
You got 4.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
it goes
okay.
to 8.
He doesn't know
But
math.
you're, but
You
you're,
guys disregard everything that comes
but you're
later.
therefore at the end. I feel like you've gone one bridge too far.
Tell
so
me.
here it is.
Okay.
All of your implications are absolutely correct. And I think Democrats live in a world where ignorance is bliss. I think they can rationalize every one of these situations, all of which add up to your equation. Yes, they do believe you belong to the government. If you own someone's success, if you own someone's body, if your rights are given to you as permission from the government, you are essentially chattel of that government who lives by its goodwill.
Right, exactly.
But I think that all lives in the world of implication. And this Democratic ad that ran last night in Charlotte, yes, you say they have finally embraced it overtly. I don't think so. I think this was a good old boy from Charlotte who used a euphemism in the same way he says, I belong to a church. He said, you belong to a government. I don't think this was a great moment of admission to this wonderful argument you laid out.
I can buy that. I can buy that. And I said, I'm taking this to its worst.
Right.
But don't you think that that argument is all over this DNC platform?
Yes,
And hold on,
there's a
with their
broader,
fair
there's
share
a broader
argument?
context of statism here, which is what this party's really become about.
Yes.
They're actually about, when you look at Obamacare, it's very interesting. Sometimes they'll say, this has been the dream, or rather, they said it last night, this has been the dream of progressives, or maybe they didn't use that term, liberals, whatever the term is, for 90 years. They recognize it's momentous. It is going to change what goes on day to day in America. It's 2,700 pages long. I haven't read it yet. I probably should, because if you were to dive into the details, the reason it's that long is that it is absolutely tinkering with things that we can't even imagine right now. It's going to change the way businesses operate. It's going to change the way people get their health care. It is a massive intrusion of the state. And the ones who have been pushing for this for a long time, they recognize it as such. They're not saying it now. They're saying, stay on your parents' health care. Oh, there's no more pre-existing conditions. They're talking about the goodies. But this huge monolith that will change America forever is something that they don't really talk about, but sometimes you do get this little taste of the statism to come. They know what's down the pike.
But I think it's important to look at this ad for what it is. This was an official video. It was scripted. It was edited. It was written. It was deliberate. The voiceover actor was probably an actor who was hired and paid. This was approved by the Democratic Party, written by Democratic professionals. Many of them live in Washington, D.C. They have help from Hollywood. When they inserted this line, this was not freelancing or, that I'm just improvising here. This was very deliberate to their audience. I think it's to appeal to their left audience. But most Americans, if they were presented with this script to read to millions and millions of their fellow Americans, would cross a line through it, and yet the Democrats deliberately put it in.
Just to be clear, the person who delivered it was the mayor of Charlotte, not an actor, but still an official,
an elected
and you're right
representative.
that this video passed probably through a number of vetting hands, and no one thought, wow, that sounds weird.
No.
Wow, let's roll that back or cut that part out, especially because this is a huge criticism of the right, that we are going to take over all of your life, property.
Any person could look at this and say, wait a minute, the government isn't the only thing we all belong to. We belong to ourselves.
It shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the principles of the founding, too, by the people, of the people. They seem to think that actually government comes and tells people what to do, not that people create a government and tell it what to do.
And that government is a club that you want to be a member of.
And taxes
we
are
all do
voluntary
not want to be a member of that club.
With all that being said, though, I wasn't surprised. I mean, this is left-wing collectivism at its best. This is the big difference between the left and the right. I didn't find myself shocked and saying, wow, how come they didn't pull this out? This is what they believe. They're basically saying we're all part of something. This is collectivism.
But the shock would be this. Everyone at this table agrees with S.E.'s conclusion that this is the underlying premise among liberal ideology. But the difference we have, apparently I have with much of you, is I don't think this was an overt omission.
You don't
that
think
would be
this
shocking.
ad
explicitly
is the proof?
Explicitly written is an overt.
I can buy
I think it's
that.
Do you think
subliminal.
that,
I think it shows.
Well, no. I mean, I don't think necessarily this ad is, I think, backed up by policy. When you look at it through the filter of everything else they're doing, then yes, your thesis makes perfect sense. If you isolate it and just look at the ad, then no, I don't think
in
that's
context,
right.
this
And
is a
Will, you were
startling admission.
absolutely right to say, wow, that's really shallow proof. And that's why I laid it out the way I did and why I have other things to back this up. 4 years of evidence and themes running through. I mean, we tried to pull some clips from last night's speeches that would speak to all of this. We frankly just didn't have time. But all you had to look at was one night of rhetoric to see every single one of these themes touched on, embraced.
It's like a big celebration of statism down there.
Really
Bill Clinton in the 1990s said the era of big government was over. I do not believe a Bill Clinton administration would have allowed this line to be in this ad. The Democratic Leadership Council was trying to pull the Democratic Party to the center. That was one of their big successes. And I think that's what President Obama has very largely undone, which this ad reflects.
And in the end, this is compelling. Your blackboard, that is very compelling. This
Thanks.
line, it's not so compelling to me.
Okay, well, I like you keeping me in check. All right, there seems to be some confusion on the part of the president's campaign surrogates as to where he stands on the nation of Israel. Buck has that for us next.